Hi there, Ian here with another Cinema 4D tutorial, but this one's a little bit different. I'm going to teach you how to make intros, so we'll go through every single step. I did a little um, question to you last video asking what type of intro you wanted, and a lot of people voted for the second kind, which I'm going to teach you now. It's going to be a logo which spins in, and text is going to appear over the top, and then we'll see what happens in After Effects. I'm going to do this as I go along. There'll be no practicing first, so kind of see how I feel when it comes to the final result. But hopefully we're going to get something which is quite nice at the end. Okay, to begin with, you want to choose something that's going to be a logo. I'm going to choose this image here. I'm making a little intro for my other channel that me and Spratty and two others have started up, which I'll put the link in the description for. We have no idea if it's going to be used or not, but since I'm making an intro, I may as well make it for something that matters, and I don't really want to show the intro I'm making for other people. So right now I'm just doing this intro for myself pretty much. So the first step is turning this into a 3D object, and for that we've got to get the paths, so I'm going to use Photoshop. So if you open it up here, I'm using Photoshop CS5, and if you just press F, it just brings it into full screen. I'm just going to zoom in so you get a bit, so it's a bit bigger. As you can see, it's not a very high resolution image, but for this it really doesn't matter that much. And we're just going to select the pen tool, so just press this button here or press P on your keyboard, and you just basically got to go around the outline of the shape just by clicking. The less points in this, the better really. So if you take your time to kind of arc the points along, it'll look a lot better, otherwise you'll have a very jagged edge. So for each of these I'm only going to have about 3 points, maybe 4, just keeping it down to a minimum. And we'll just go around the object. It can be exceedingly dull at times, but this will get the best result when we put it into Cinema 4D. Now I'm going to be using Photoshop here. You could use Illustrator as well. And then it's going to go into Cinema 4D, and then when we've rendered out of there, I'll teach you all about render settings. After we've done that, it will go into After Effects for like flares and all that. You can learn how to make fun, well, I say fun, I mean cool backgrounds, and all that, and then afterwards it will go into Final Cut. You could use Vegas or anything that offers sound, and then we're just going to use the Action Essentials sound pack, or designer sound, sorry, to add some sound over the top. You can use your own, but I'm using non-copyrighted sounds, and so I don't get plagued by copyright law. Plus it means I can use it for anything in university, because for university we have to use uncopyrighted music in all of our work. I've got a few people asking me what I actually do at university. I'm doing a course called Digital Media Production. It covers pretty much everything to do with media nowadays. We learn about animation, web design, film. I've just finished a documentary which I might link you to if you're interested in seeing the kind of thing you learn in the first month or two at university. It's a really fun course. I'm studying at Sheffield Hallam University, which is a really nice place to study actually. I would recommend it if you're from the UK like me. You can check it out. You could even meet Spratty, he's studying there as well. That's where I know him from anyway. Now we're just finishing up. It's exceedingly dull, this step, but I promise you it gets more interesting when it gets into the 3D. I hate doing circles in this, it never comes out very well, but I'm going to do it very rough for now anyway. You can make it as neat as you like. If it's your own intro, then I suggest taking a lot more time than I did to make it look neat. And then when you're done, so you've got you have all your paths done, I'll just show you. You have all your paths like that. You just want to go down to File, Export, Paths to Illustrator, and there'll be a work path, and then just save it wherever you want. I'm just going to make a file on my desktop and save it as logo. And then when that's done, you can just quit out of this. You don't need to save it because you've got your AI file here. And so now we're going to go into Cinema 4D. So we'll just load this up. It's taking a while to load over the past couple of days for some reason. So don't really know why. I've got R13 now, that's probably it. Come on. There we go. Now we just go to File, Open, and then just find the AI folder, file even, and just open that up. And you'll get this here. I'm just going to put the scale up to 2, just because you saw it was quite small in the actual Photoshop. And there we have our logo. Now, unless you use guides to put an actual center on, it will be very off-center. That's the center down there. So we just go to the position down here and just put these all at 0 and click apply. Then the middle of your object will be in the middle of your image here. And if we open it up, we have all the different paths here. Now if we just rotate around, so we've got a face on image. You now want to go and highlight this object here, which is a HyperNURBS object, and go to Extrude NURBS. And if we drag one of them in, you'll see we have an object. And that's how you turn it into 3D pretty much. And then you just need to make another one of these. So I just copied and pasted it. Delete that path from in there. And rather than having a separate one for all of these, because I want these to be the same depth all the way around, I'm just going to drag them all into there. But shockingly, only one of them appears there. So if you go into the Extrude NURBS and click the hierarchy, then you'll get all of them here. Now, if you go to the first one, I'm just going to rename it so it's easier. So I'm going to have that one as main, and these as outers. You can name them whatever you want. I'm going to have this with a depth of 50. No, I'm not. That's way too much. I'm going to have that at 30. And I'm going to have these at 15. And if you click this top right button here, you'll actually get all the different views. If we go to the top one, I'm just going to move the outer ones into the middle of that roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously this changes from object to object. And so now we have a very basic thing here. Now for the main, if you go over to the caps and click on cap and go down to fillet cap and do the same for the end, you get this, but that's a bit too much. So turn the radius down. I usually use either 2 or 3. And for the outers, we do the same. And these will probably need to be 2. We'll just cap the object. Now I'm going to round these all off, so put the steps up to 3, just so you get a bit more smoothness in the edges. Now for a material, I'm actually going to include this material pack in the description as well, so it's a bit of a giveaway as well. I guess you could say this whole tutorial on giveaway packs is my 500th and 600th subscriber giveaway, because I know I've been a bit lazy and haven't done anything for either of them. They've kind of come in a bit of a hurry, and it's always through when I've got deadlines for university. So I'm going to include this material pack here. It's really nice. I didn't put it together, but I guess I'll give it away anyway. And so all of these are really nice materials, and for this particular one I might use this because it's very detailed, and all we need to do is drag it onto both objects. Now you'll notice the front's still very blank and all the details actually on the sides and very squished. That's not quite what we want, so if we highlight both of the materials here, on projection, instead of UVW mapping you want cubic, and it's looking a bit better. Might put this up a bit and just make it look exactly how you want it to. It's not lit yet or anything, so don't expect it to look very well lit or any of that. I'm going to put a bit of reflection on, and hopefully it doesn't look rubbish. That'll be fun. Oh, might not use that material actually. Sorry, I'll choose a different one. I think I'll go for a metal. Yeah, this one would be better. So if you just highlight them both, remember cubic. And you might want to turn on seamless as well, so you don't get all the lines that go across. This is looking a lot better now. And now to light it, you can do a few things. You could just insert a simple light. Obviously, that's not the kind of light you want. If you just drag it forwards a bit and up, and on the shadow down here, you put soft, so you get some soft shadows going down on the object. It's looking a lot nicer now. You might also want to put one below as well. If you don't want to drag it below, you could just go to the Y coordinate here and just put a minus on, click apply, and you get this kind of lighting here. Now we could also turn on some render settings. So first of all, we want this to be in the YouTube HD widescreen. So if you click this arrow here, go to film and video, and I use HDV/HDTV 720. If you just click that, you get a widescreen format. And then, just to make the lighting look a bit better, you might want ambient occlusion on. That just makes more realistic shadows, and global illumination on. And just to decrease render times, you want all of these on low. You can only really see the difference if you're doing pictures, but in animations you can't really notice any difference at all. And that's looking a lot nicer now. The shadows are a lot better. The lighting's more globalized, like global illumination is meant to do. And so this is the basis of what we want. So now what you want to do is, rather than moving all of these individually, which you can do, it can look quite nice, you just want to highlight both of, all of your logo and go Alt and G, and this will put it into a null object, which when you spin it around, spins the entire object. Now if you click the top right button again and go on front view, just get it into view, you'll notice this isn't quite in the center, and so to recenter it, first of all you want the arrows, and you want this double-ended arrow icon here, and with that you can move all this and it won't move your object, it moves the anchor point. So this is where it'll rotate around and move from. And you want to do this before any keyframes are put in. So you just want this in the center, and then if we go to the top view, we want this in the center of the object as well. So when we rotate it round, it'll rotate around the entire center. So if you just click off that again, if you click E, you get the arrows. If you click R, you can rotate it, and T is scale. So that's just some handy shortcuts. That's these three icons here. So now when we rotate it, it rotates the entire object, which is very handy. So if we just increase the frames here to about 150, since we're doing 30 frames a second, that's 5 seconds of animation. I think, yeah. So 90 frames is 3 seconds into the animation. That's where we want this logo to appear in the very center. And so if you just click on the null, have it in the where you want, so that's in the center of the image. Just actually center it. And on the 90th frame, click this keyframe button here. And now we'll put a keyframe in. So now we can move it all around, but since there's a keyframe, it'll always stay in that position until we change it. So now we want a camera, which is this one here, and you want camera. In the old, in Cinema 4D R12, it's within the lights menu up here. In R13 there's a separate one for camera. So if you're using R12, don't expect to see all these here, but it is very similar. All the techniques are exactly the same. So if you see here, we've inserted a camera, which is in our scene now. And if we go into it, we can see the object here. It's not the camera's not quite in the middle either. So if we just zero all of these, we'll be in the very middle. And if we zoom out, hopefully, yeah, we have our image. Now we just want to move this so it's in the center of our image. If we render that, you can see we have our logo. Now we don't want the camera to move at all, and so to make sure we don't accidentally do anything, just insert a keyframe. It doesn't matter where I normally use 0, however. This means if you accidentally zoom in, when you move the timeline, it will go straight back. Now if we go out of the camera view, so click the white button up here and click on our null, at the 3rd second, so the 90th frame, it's there, and to make it zoom in, all you want to do is drag this back like so and insert a keyframe, and you can see this little line here. That's a motion path. So now as we go along, it does that, and if we go into our camera, you'll notice when we play, it goes like this. Now you might not want it just to go in a straight line. That's very simple. I'm going to do it like I normally do. So at 0, it's behind the camera and up, so like that. And then if you go on rotation, don't click on any of these highlighted ones, just click in the middle. Now I just drag it a bit. I have no precise rotations I use. It's random every time, and just make a keyframe and just check to make sure it looks okay. That looks pretty good. And one last check you want to do is, as it goes past the camera, make sure it doesn't go, like the object doesn't travel through the actual camera, otherwise the materials will glitch, and the worst thing about it is render times become absolutely huge throughout its travel through the camera for some reason. Normally a frame for me would take about 10 seconds. If it goes through the camera, mine takes about 6 minutes, and so that's something really to look out for. And so I'm happy with this animation so far. You can render it at any point just to make sure the lighting looks good throughout it all. This looks fine. If it's a bit dark, you might just want to add a background for the time being, so that's in this section here. Again in R12, that's also in the lights menu, I think, if I remember correctly. And so if you insert a background, double click down here to make a material, and double click again. On color, go to the texture and gradient, and click on the gradient. The type you want circular, and instead of black you want a white, and instead of white over here you want a grey, just to get a nice almost a vignette. So if you drag that onto the background, when we render it out now, you can see we have the nice gradient background and we have our object here. Now I'm not going to really care about lighting this perfectly. You might want to add a fill light, and that's just to kind of give a bit of detail in the front of the image. To do that, you just bring in a light, drag it forwards a bit so it highlights it all. You don't want it very strong, maybe about anywhere between 10 and 20. And all that does is just fills out the front of it, gives it a bit more light so you can see a bit more detail. That will probably help me for this kind of angle where it's not going directly over a light, just to give a bit of extra detail in here so it's not completely black. Now that we've got that little animation here, we want to add the text. We want, I think for this I'm going to use MoGraph text. So if you just click on here and go down to MoText, you'll see we get a text object here. You'll see just how small this logo is now due to the size of the default text. If you go on to the objects, and we'll just a bit slow there for some reason, and align it to the middle, that just puts the anchor point in the middle of the object. And I'm going to call this Only at Hallam, because that's the name of the channel. And then the height is basically the size of the text, and obviously we don't want it behind the logo, so if you just go out of the camera and use the blue arrow, which is basically the depth, and just drag that forwards. For precise ones you might want to use the top view here and just drag it just in front of your logo, and you want it in the center there, so just drag it down to the center. And it doesn't matter what font you use. My fonts take forever to load, probably because I have quite a lot. Definitely not as many as a lot of others, but it's no competition. And just choose whatever text you want. I'm going to use this one. And I'm just going to put a space there, just so it's a bit further apart. Yeah, that looks fine. For text, again you want caps as well, but as you can see, since the text is now small, the caps are huge, so you want to change the radius down to anywhere between 2 and 3. And that's quite good for starters. You might want to do the horizontal spacing out a bit if the caps overlay any of the text. You don't want them touching. It's not vital, but it's just an aesthetics thing, which if you don't know what that means, it's the looks of it. Yeah, this is going to be quite a long tutorial, I just realised. Next, I don't know what to do now. You want to texture the text, and to do that I'm going to use the same material as the logo, but I'm just going to make it a bit darker. You can use whatever you want. This is just to be quite quick, and just drag that onto the text, and again you want cubic and seamless checked. Yeah, this is looking fine. Maybe even change those caps down to 1. Next, for the effect of it appearing, what you want to do is go onto the MoText object, select it there, and click on this button here, which is the Make Editable, or you could just click C. And what that's going to do is break this object up into all of its single letters, which is quite good. And you might want to drag this material onto all of these individually now, otherwise it gets a bit complicated afterwards. And you might just want to move these with the other letters, just so it looks a bit neater rather than having loads and loads of things down here. And after you've done that, you have to set the anchor points for each of these, and the fast way to do this is to highlight them all, and the best thing to do is use the front view. In here, make the anchor point selection tool available, move this up to about halfway, and it will change the anchor point for each individual letter. Drag these to the middle, and all you have to do is change a couple of these, because a couple won't be in the very center, such as very narrow letters like L's. The Y is a bit off as well. These don't have to be perfect, but it's just nice to have it a bit better than what you would normally get. And so just drag these all roughly in the center, and then when you've done that, highlight them all again and go to the top view. And if you zoom out, just put this into the middle as well, so when it rotates around the very center of it. Now we can go back to our front view, well, our camera view, and now all of these are in the center. So obviously it doesn't animate at the moment, and when that hits in, that's when we want the text to appear. So for that, what you want to do is click the null object which it's in. I'll just name that text, and in the basic tab here, what you want to do is in visible in editor and visible in renderer, click off, and if you hold down Control and click this little circle here, it makes a keyframe here, and this button is go forward one frame, and so we want these now to be visible. So we'll just highlight that, and now when it comes in, it appears like that. And to animate it, we want when it first appears, I'm going to have all the text. Ooh, remember to take that off, otherwise everything will muck up. When it's like that, I'm going to have this rotated at 95, and so just make a keyframe there, and then it will take just under a second for them all to go back to how they were. And so that's what it looks like there. You can change this. What I usually do is take the first and last one, so that's just clicking on the O, then holding down Command on a Mac. The equivalent will probably be maybe Alt on PC, I'm not 100% sure. And if you just click and drag this keyframe here, I'm going to drag that to before, so that animation happens a bit earlier. And if you see what I'm doing here, I'm just going to select the next two and drag them a bit further, and then next two, and select a bit further and go to the next two, and so on until you have the whole object, the whole text rotating a bit after each other, so you get that kind of effect, which is really nice. And that's pretty much it. That's what it looks like at the moment. And now, okay, we're on to half an hour now. For render settings, you want to delete that background. That was just to get a general idea. Click on your render settings button here, which is the third one along, and in output you want the frame range to all frames, so that will render every single frame here. And in save you want the default one, which is TIFF PSD layers, and you want alpha channel selected, and that will render everything so it doesn't have a background here, so you can add your own in. It'll be a black background, but when we bring it into After Effects, they'll all disappear, and so we can add a picture behind and it won't overlay this text at all, which is really, really handy. It took me a long time to click this button here, probably about 2 months, so that's very, very useful. And then we just render it out, and you can see mine goes quite quickly. In the next tutorial it'll be After Effects, and that will be using flares, images, maybe even some Action Essentials, kind of sparks, debris, smoke, just to make it look a bit more interesting, a bit more unique. And you can put any of these techniques into your own intros and animations that you make. Now, I hope this has been helpful. I'm not going to make you sit through all of this. Then hopefully I'll get the next tutorial done in the next couple of days, maybe this weekend. Hope it's helpful. It should be. It's covered quite a lot. Keyframing, animation, paths, putting it into 3D, render settings, materials, pretty much everything. So yeah, this will probably take 10 minutes to render out, and so in the next tutorial I'll talk all about the next steps. Thank you for watching. This has been Ian, and see you later.